Good morning. Welcome back to the OHSU Effect, Inside Health and Science at OHSU. I'm Lacey Evans. This is our brain show, and we've learned a lot so far. And now we're going to learn about something called deep brain stimulation. This is where a device is implanted in the brain of a Parkinson's patient, and it can help them lead better lives with fewer tremors. With me now is the head of neurosurgery at OHSU, Dr. Kim Birchill, and one of his success stories, Kirk McFarland. Thank you both for coming today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Birchill, I kind of gave a rudimentary explanation of deep brain stimulation. Tell me what it is.
Well, deep brain stimulation is an alternative to medication for Parkinson's disease when the medications have stopped working.
But tell me more about the device. Can you kind of go in depth on that?
The device itself is much like a pacemaker. It involves placing an electrode down into the brain in a target that, when stimulated, will help alleviate some of the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. But looking at the device itself, it looks very much like a heart pacemaker. And
you are the first surgeon to have done this outside of France, right?
That's correct. In about 1990, we started implanting these devices here.
And I guess how has it evolved over the past 20 years?
Well, the devices have gotten a lot more sophisticated, just like most electronics. They've gotten smaller, more powerful, more degrees for programming. The surgery itself has remained relatively stable over the past 20 years. The electrodes that Kirk had implanted were implanted with him awake. So with his assistance, we were able to locate the target for the electrode implant. We were able to stimulate during surgery and to examine him during surgery. So that has been the traditional way of implanting these electrodes. More recently, we've actually switched our methods to having the patients asleep, but that's a more of a new development.
Wow. Well, we'll get to that in a minute because I can't imagine being awake for something like this. But can you talk, Dr. Birchill, about who this helps and what kind of effects can it have?
Well, typically patients that are diagnosed with Parkinson's disease will have a period of 10 years or so when the medications work fairly well for them. But after that point, they begin to have complications of the medical therapy and the medications start working less effectively. And I think that's what happened to Kirk. And
Exactly, yeah.
That's what happens to most patients that we end up implanting.
So, Kirk, tell me a little bit about your background and I guess when you started noticing issues about your health.
Well, I got diagnosed about 15 years ago and probably had symptoms a couple of years before that. I was a commercial airline pilot living in Chicago at the time and just started noticing a tremor in my leg. Eventually, it got worse. I got it diagnosed. I was lucky enough to be able to fly for about 8 years. And when I quit flying, I came out here to OHSU. This is where home was for my wife and myself. So I moved back, and they have a Parkinson's Center here. Actually, and they do besides Dr. Birchill, they have their neurology department here. It's very cutting edge, so it's great care. I was able to volunteer to do research, too, which for about the next 4 or 5 years, I was able to do that and also educate myself about DBS during the process.
Yeah, tell me about DBS. I mean, when did you decide, this is what I want to do?
Well, I've always been told by the doctors that I was a good candidate for it. So it was pretty much a no-brainer. Basically, the symptoms really decided for me more than anything else. Like Dr. Birchill said, after about 10 years, the medication becomes less effective, and you also get a toxic effect from it. So it got to the point where my mobility and my lifestyle was pretty much compromised. So that pretty much drove the decision.
Well, he mentioned that you were awake for this. So, I mean, were you ever nervous or
scared?
Yeah,
that's a little bizarre, I've got to admit. Being awake during brain surgery is that's a little bit different. Although they do a good job of educating you, and to me, being kind of geeky technology-wise anyway, it was given the chance, was something I didn't really want to miss. So,
and how long ago did you have this implanted?
18 months.
Just 18 months ago. Mm-hmm. So, give me your assessment.
Well, the day we turned it on, a few weeks after the surgery, I went in the clinic in a wheelchair, and by that afternoon, I was literally jogging up and down the corridors.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big wow. Yeah. So I've been able to walk and drive where I hadn't been able to do that before. So.
Well, Dr. Burchill, I'm wondering, why do the medications become less effective over time? Is it just the body is resisting it, or what?
Yeah, Parkinson's is essentially an accelerating aging change in one of the parts of the brain that produces this chemical called dopamine. And as the center becomes more and more degenerated, the medications seem to work less. It's almost like the wiring goes down. So the medications have to be increased in concentration and frequency. And then often, as Kirk said, they start producing side effects such as dyskinesia. This is this sort of wild flinging movement. If you've ever seen Michael J. Fox, when he's on his medication, he exhibits this, and many people do at that stage of Parkinson's disease. And then the other thing that happens frequently with medications is that people have wild swings between being completely immobilized and being functional. And oftentimes they'll be someplace where they're out shopping or doing something, and suddenly they go off, meaning the medications stop working and they're basically stuck there. So these fluctuations are in effect a medical toxicity, meaning the medications stopped working. So the deep brain stimulation has now been unequivocally proven to help not only the major symptoms of Parkinson's disease, which are the rigidity, that is stiffness, the slowness of movement we call bradykinesia, tremor, and then particularly helps the dyskinesias that are the toxic effect of the medication, and also the fluctuations between the on and off states of the patient. So, and probably represents right now one of the most proven surgeries of all types of surgery in any area of surgery. So, it has really established itself as the treatment for patients with medically intractable Parkinson's disease.
Well, Kirk, I have to admit that when I met you in the hallway, I guess I wasn't expecting someone who was so normal, we'll say. I was expecting someone with Parkinson's. And so it looks to me like this is working. Do you agree with the doctor that your symptoms have really lessened?
Absolutely, but I'd like to say that it's not a cure-all. I do have symptoms. It's not a cure for the disease. It's really a tool to help manage the disease. It's great for what it does. It really is. Although, if you see me later this evening or when I'm off, you can definitely tell I have it. So,
Yeah.
I still have issues with the disease, but for what it does, it works very well.
Yeah, I want to emphasize what Kirk said, that this is a symptomatic treatment. What it does is it gives him more quality time, it extends his on time, and it makes him more functional. Initially, we thought that deep brain stimulation might actually change the course of Parkinson's disease, but at the present time, there's not a lot of good evidence of that. We're still very hopeful. In fact, some recent evidence shows that deep brain stimulation actually starts to produce new neurons, new brain cells in the brain. So we're hoping that eventually we'll be able to exploit that, and this will become not just a symptomatic therapy, but also moving more and more towards a restorative therapy.
Are there any side effects or maintenance with this device?
That's probably a good question for Kirk. He's in the early stages of this, but because this is an electrical system, it's a generator, it's like a pacemaker, it has a battery built into the system, and it needs to be changed out every few years. So he will need a minor surgery periodically to replace the generator. But moreover, this is like another drug. That is, he has to, and his neurologists have to balance the drugs he's taking with the stimulation he's getting, constantly changing what is really a moving target.
How does it feel for you to see Kirk like this, though?
Well, this is what doctors love, honestly, to see someone who's having a good result from surgery or any kind of medical therapy is, frankly, I think why we do what we do. I must say, if I saw Kirk walking down the hall and we hadn't done this show today, he would look familiar to me, but I might not have been able to pick out his name. But I have patients come up to me all the time in the hospital and even around Portland and say, Dr. Burchill, you don't remember me, but 3 years ago you put in this unit and I've just done wonderfully since. And so that sort of spontaneous meeting is tremendously gratifying to me.
That's great. How does it feel for you, Kirk?
Oh, it's a big kick for me, believe me.
Good. Well, I really appreciate both of you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's the head of neurosurgery up at OHSU, Dr. Kim Burchill, and Kirk McFarland has a deep brain stimulation device in his head, and he's doing great. Thank you both again.
Thank you.
It's the OHSU Effect on KXL.